for me, unless you know your absolute truth, it's too easy to let it all go because you'll get blown off track by other people's concerns and other people's worries and other people's opinions. And think about how often this happens when we go to make a decision or a choice in life. And we go and ring up all our friends. What do you think I should do? Oh, what do you think? I'm thinking of doing this. What do you reckon? And if you think about it, Mel, we're just creating in some ways a whole lot more confusion because then we've got other people's opinions to deal with as well. And they've got their own vested interest in what they think you should do. And lots of people want you to stay just where you are because that makes them feel comfortable.
Hello and welcome to Connected with Melissa J. Scott. And today I'm really honoured to be introducing you to my guest and my friend, Suzy Jacobs, the wonderful Suzy Jacobs, I have to say. Hey, Suzy, how are you?
Hello, Melissa. I am incredibly well. Really good.
I knew you would answer like that. You always do. So I've known you for quite a few years now, but I'm just going to run through your bio so people get to know you, and then I'm going to hand over to you and let you share your magic. So Suzy,
Sure.
Beautiful. Suzy's the driving force behind Activator Academy, which is a new business that she's just launched. And if you're watching this in real time, we're in the COVID-19 isolation phase, and she's gone and launched a whole brand new business in this. And I think there's no time like the present to do it. And it's an online learning hub. It's for free thinkers and high achievers. But you are also a very successful entrepreneur. You're a very experienced business mentor and a coach. And you're also a wonderful public speaker and an MC, and I know you're very much in high demand for that, and I've seen you speak many times, and you're incredibly captivating. You've spent more than 20 years working across businesses and franchises, and these include leading startups and producing global events, which I have participated in, which is She Business, Athena and Fearless, which are like monumental events, and they stand the test of time. Your mission is to be a world leader in delivering human connection in the virtual world. That is a beautiful lead into what I do with my podcast, which is Connection. So that's probably a great time for me to hand over to you and ask you to share what connection means and what the Activator Academy is all about.
That is quite an intro. I think we'll just stop there, Mel, and we'll leave our listeners with that because I'm sounding pretty good. I'm happy with that. On a serious note, wow, Activator Academy, yes, it has been quite a ride. So I've been in the space of personal growth, self-development and transformation probably for the past 15 years. And Activator Academy is really about disrupting the self-help industry. In the US alone, people spend over $1.4 billion annually on books which are about fixing human beings, about fixing them. And Activator Academy is coming into the market and saying one methodology for a lifetime of answers. And it is not to be controversial for the sake of being controversial, but there's a really important message behind it, which is humans mistakenly think that there's something wrong with us and that we have to fix ourselves. And it's not about fixing. It's about developing the qualities and choosing who you want to be in life, and then looking at all the barriers that get in the way of you choosing it and then creating that out in the world. And in fact, if we spend more time practicing our process and less time looking for the next thing which is going to apparently fix us, we'd be far further down our own track if we just focused on that.
Wow. That's a big wow. Like that's actually a bit of a mind fuck, I'll just say it, for me, because I've spent a lot of time in the self-help world and processing and going through things and trying different methodologies, from kinesiology through to like more traditional counseling and to energy healing, tantra.
So I'm not advocating that you don't explore different methodologies, but just as you would go in the physical world to look after your body, we don't get any more physically fit just by reading the manual. We've got to go in and do the work. And the same thing is for our personal growth and transformation. There's work to be done, and it's as constant and regular as it is when we do our physical stuff.
God, I love that. And you are one physically fit woman. That's actually something I wanted to talk to you about later in this. But so physically fit, mentally fit, emotionally fit, spiritually fit, I guess. Do you want to like maybe share some examples of kind of like what you're talking about, with your practice and what you're doing, and some examples, I guess, of like, how this really gets amazing results?
Yeah, such a good question, Mel. So I've developed this methodology and been taught by some great people, one of whom Lorna Padden, who I will always tip my hat to. She mentored me in the train the trainer process. And so I've taken a lot of the work that I've done over those 15 years and created a methodology. And so, like I said to you at the beginning, one methodology for a lifetime of answers. So in this time where suddenly the world has changed overnight, disrupted, changed the way we feel, we think, we engage, we act, no wonder people are feeling really destabilized. And again, we come back to this idea that they're then looking for things to fix. But it's not about fixing, it's about freeing. How do we get free at this time? And so for me, I go back to my processes. I go back to the Activator methodology and use it. So if I wake up one day and I'm feeling blur, which happens to all of us, right? I go, what's actually going on? And it might be that I'm suddenly triggered by fear, by some sort of anxiety about the world we live in, or the state of business, or how my children are, whatever it is. So the first thing I do is I notice that I'm not present, and I feel something, and then I go and break that down. So if I'm feeling fearful, I will go through the methodology to unpack that, separate the feeling from the fact, process them independently, acknowledge it all, but have a structure for processing it. So at the end of it, I can feel free, and then I'm free to make a new choice. And I do that anytime that I feel as though I'm not absolutely present and in flow and free to be and to do the work that I want to do.
God. So you're just really, what I'm hearing is that you're really just acknowledging and feeling the emotion, and you're giving it a name, and then you're owning it, but then you're not just jumping into a story with it. You're actually then processing it, and then like just coming at it with curiosity, I guess, and trying to then unpack it and understand it. Is that right?
Yeah, and it's a process for it. So we've got 5 frameworks. We've got about 30 distinctions around those frameworks. And there are sort of 4 key ways that we're separating out feelings, facts, stories, and filters. And that tends to be it. And once you can identify which one it is, pull them apart, process them separately, it's a pretty quick process to move on and just get on with what you want to do.
Man, I love that. I'm hooked.
We launched 3 weeks ago,
Yeah.
and talk about being agile and nimble and innovative. So I designed this business to be flexible and available are the 2 words that were driving my business. So everything about it was intended and created to happen online, because my kids are older now and I want to travel the world, although that's looking somewhat dubious. And so they were the words. So I was launching online, and I've got a reasonable sized database and reasonably connected out there in social channels. And the week that I was launching, coronavirus was just ramping up, right? And so my inbox was overrun by people selling me stuff and pushing me stuff and wanting to solve my problems. And I just went, you know what? Even though this was the moment I was launching, this is not the moment to launch. Because the work that I've done in creating this, and the message that is here for people, and the process that is available, is too important to get lost in that chaos. And so I'm sort of zagging while other people are zigging. And I've just brought it right back to I opened the doors to 30 people and just said, come on in, have a look at the online learning hub, check it out. And I'm now biding my time and just talking to people, getting on the old fashioned phone, talking to people until the chaos has passed and people will be more open to hearing what's available.
Mm. Oh, look, and I agree. And even though it's kind of really needed right this minute, like people would really, man, they'll benefit from it in such an incredible way. I do know what you mean. You can launch something and then it's not ready. They're not ready to hear the message because they're too much. They're too much in the story. And this is so new. This is unprecedented. I don't want to talk too much about COVID because it'll be irrelevant. Hopefully one day
Yep.
soon. But
Yep.
yeah, how do you get the message across? I guess to people. Then this is a good question. How do you get the message across to people who need what you've got, but they're not necessarily able to hear what you've got to say because they're trapped?
Yeah, it's such a good question, Mel. I've worked in the background. So we were talking earlier about brand and creating brand and knowing who you're speaking to, right? So doing that foundational work for any business just so important. And one of my superpowers, but there's also a superpower that can not work for me. I'm very quick out the gates, right? Love to get a project going.
Yep, I know that about you.
Um, yeah, and so unless I have people around me who sort of pull me back and get me to double check and double down on some of these key stuff around brand and knowing who I'm talking to and what are those messages and how do I take this one message of taking back your power, owning your own transformation, one methodology for a lifetime of answers to people who go, what the fuck is that about? Right. And so we had to go way up. And so I've worked with a fabulous comms guy who's, I'm going to give a shout out to a guy called Trevor Young, who's a PR warrior. And he was a client of mine. And then I became a client of his. But creating a really strong, substantial comms strategy around it so that we know the conversations we want to get involved in out there in the world and slowly just build up the conversation. You can't shout at people and just sell them something that perhaps they don't even recognize is available to them. So it is a long game, Mel, definitely.
I hear what you're saying. I mean, I'm in the branding and marketing world too. People can only get the message of what they're able to hear, so you can't, I love what you say, you can't shout it out at them. That leads me to a beautiful question I have for you. You're a master of personal branding. You were very modest before when you said, you're moderately connected. You're very well connected. You have a great database. You're very well loved by initially a very female population, but I imagine now there's probably a lot of males in there too, with your services that you provide. So for my listeners and the viewers, what tips can you give them about personal branding and how to really invent yourself and then get the message out there without spending $1 million, your tips to branding?
You're asking me the tough questions because I think if I said something like authenticity, it sounds a bit yeah. You go, yeah. Knowing who you are. And so the foundation of that, as you know, comes from actually knowing who you are. And that comes before building a brand around it. So I say to clients, slow down to speed up. Find the quiet space and explore who you are, because replicating someone else in order to achieve some outcome that you're hoping for is soulless. And look, some people, it works for them. That's business. It's not something that I would be able to do, because without that true sense of myself in there, it just wouldn't work for me. So I think that it's willing to I've got a great book I would recommend, and I only read it recently. So anyone who's wanting to explore creating a business, writing a book, expressing themselves out in the world, and they always find good excuses not to do that. They The War of Art by a guy called Stephen Pressfield,
Yeah.
and it's all about resistance, right? And so how we resist, we say we want to do something, but we resist it because that idea of actually showing up as who we are and creating something in whatever crazy, mind that we're working through is scary. And so we spend too much time looking at what other people are doing and saying, okay, well, maybe I can do that. And for me anyway, that's a road of confusion.
Yeah.
I've got to come in to find out who I am and just who I am, and then deliver that to the market.
I love that. I do a lot of body work, and the answers are always within. They're always
Mm.
within, no matter what. And your body will reflect that if you're not resonating, in an unhealthy way. So let's talk about health then. I'm just jumping all around.
Away you go.
Yeah, you have a health regime, and I'd love you. So you and I, we're both, approaching the middle years of our lives, and I think this is when a lot of women feel unseen. They believe
Mm.
they're unseen, and they feel unvalid. I don't feel that way about myself, and I know you do not feel that way about yourself. So can we
Yep.
talk around that, have a chat about that, and about health, healthy minds, healthy bodies, what you do to
Yep.
stay in this beautiful frame of mind, this beautiful peak fitness that you have?
Yep. It's a great question, and so we all need to be careful about the language that we have inherited from our family and generations past. So we continue to allow the invisible conversation to exist because we continue to repeat it. So we're not invisible. The truth is, we're all right here. And
Mm.
so how we show up in the world is a choice that we get to make. So are you going to allow people to choose for us and be a reaction to those external circumstances? Or do we ignore the noise and the learned conversation and again look within? And
Mm.
this goes back to process. So there are always days where we feel, I don't know, "Ugh," or unattractive, or not our, not the best version of ourselves, whatever. The story that we create around that, and particularly as we get older and age, and our skin gets a bit saggier, and hair starts to not look so great or whatever. It's easy to take those external uh, signs and make them mean something. Oh, I'm getting old, so I'm unattractive.
Mm.
And again, if that's how we create our life, just as a reaction to what's going on around us, that's what we get. So
Mm.
the work for anyone is to choose how you want to show up in the world. So I'm 52, and um, I feel fantastic. I feel in great shape. I feel alive and vibrant and in peak condition and peak mental condition. That doesn't just happen because I sit in front of Netflix and eat Ben and Jerry's and whinge about the fact that I don't get seen in the world.
Mm. Yeah.
I don't allow other people to create who I choose to be. I
Yeah.
get to choose that, and then the process is habit. If you think about the power of habit, so much of what we think is the truth or the reality is just habitual language and habitual conversations. So I don't get involved with people who are having conversations about being invisible because it's not helpful.
Mm.
Like seriously, if you look at life, for me, life is I want to be productive. I want to have a heightened experience of life. And that is not on what I have around me. It is how I experience every single moment of every day. And the practice is creating that and then moving all the stuff out of the way that doesn't support that.
Yeah. And not just all the stuff, all the people, all the conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because we're in control of those. So, if something's not helpful to us, we have a choice, you know, whether we engage or disengage. You don't have to be nasty about it. You just don't engage anymore.
But even look at the news now, Mel, like it's with all the stuff around Corona, and we're not going to speak too much about it. I watch the news once a day.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, to just find out if there's anything I need to know about what's happening in the world. And why do I do that? Not because I don't care, not because I'm trying to stick my head in the sand. It's just, that's all I need to know. The rest is just drama. And the rest is just, what's the effect going to be on me? Fear, anxiety, you know, and drama. And I go, that's not going to assist me keeping my business going in the right direction, supporting my family, keeping my connections with friends and colleagues, and it's not useful.
Absolutely. Oh my God. I don't even watch it once a day. I haven't watched the news in about 5 years. It somehow still filters through to me. You know, you don't,
Yeah,
if you're
there
on,
you go.
yeah,
It's not like you don't know what's going on in the world,
yeah.
but that habitual, and you know, it's a very human thing. So I'm not giving anyone a hard time for doing it. It's the power of habit. And a lot of the work that people have to do when it comes to personal growth and development is actually just breaking habits that we mistake as the truth or a fact. That process itself.
It's just consciousness and mindfulness, isn't it? Oh, God, I could talk about that topic forever. I love it so much. So, can you share with us then some of your daily habits? Because I reckon that is what I would be wondering. You know, well, what do you do? Give me an example, Suzy. What's your day look like?
So one of my favorites, and I'm on a bit of a thing to get people doing it. Morning pages, I find, is one of the most extraordinary tools for clearing the crap from your brain, dumping it on a piece of paper. You wake up, you write for 20 minutes. It's not a journal. It's not conscious. It's just almost your brain has processed a whole lot of information overnight, and then you dump it out on a piece of paper. The 2 or 3 hours I spend after I've done morning pages, I could almost do no work afterwards, and I will have done a day's work. It is that powerful. So whereas a lot of people I know go to meditation as their go-to thing, for me, morning pages is absolutely it. I manage my environment. As we were just saying, what don't I do is as important as what I do. So I don't hook into a whole lot of news. I might re-engage with my purpose. So what is it I'm actually doing here? And taking that space and that silence to really create and cause my day in alignment with the purpose and the vision I have for the day. So it's been really intentional about it. And again, humans, we love distractions and bright, shiny things and, you know, phone calls and other people's drama and all that kind of stuff. It's all fab. And we just got to get that that's a nice little sugar hit. But with that level, as you said, that consciousness, that intentionality, is that taking you to where you want to go. And it is, I said it earlier, slow down to speed up. It is turning off Wi-Fi and your phone. Often I have my phone on airplane mode.
Yeah.
Because when I'm wanting to do that creative work and I need some thinking time, I need quiet time. It's knowing what to say yes to and what to say no to.
Oh God, we could talk about that all day, about the power of saying no.
Yeah, 100%. And so it's that clarity. And I say to people, we talk about in Activator something called the opportunity matrix. And at no time in life have we ever had so many choices available to us. And I show this slide, Mel, which is 1970s Australia, Neapolitan ice cream, chocolate, vanilla, strawberry. Fast forward to 2020, walk into Messina. I want to have a heart attack looking at, 40 options of ice cream. I've got to the end of the day. The last thing I want to do is to make another choice. So we have so many choices, which means that we need to make so many decisions.
Yeah.
Right? So we've got this choice decision matrix. And if we're not really clear on our choices and where we're going, we can get overwhelmed, stuck, and frustrated.
Mm.
And so we often use this as a reference point to say, when you can navigate through choice and explore your freedom, and at the same time keep a level of focus to make, so you make decisions, you get to that point of being empowered. And when you're in that state, your brain is, it's like just expanded and it's free, and it's there that you see the unseen and unknown opportunities that always exist within the chaos and uncertainty and complexity of life.
Mm.
So yeah, again, it's pretty much, I use the activator, my own process. I implement that every single day and practice it.
Yeah.
I think I've gone off track. I can't remember what your question was. Did I answer it?
I don't mind, because I like the track you're on. So I've got a question for you then about, because I'm writing notes all the time while you're talking, which I love it. So I wrote down a word, reinvention, because when you come to all this self-analysis and getting to know yourself really intimately, and you've got that niggling feeling that things aren't quite right, things need to change. The reinvention takes place. You go through your process. So you reinvented quite a few years back now. I met you through the She Business organization that you ran. I don't know, I
Yep.
can't remember how many women you had in that, but it was a powerful.
Heaps. Yeah, thousands. God, thousands over 7 years. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And you sold it. You decided, over this, I sold it. Can you talk a little bit about that? That sort of like, what that, because that was a real shock to a lot of people that you would do that, and that was hard to hand over too,
Mm,
because you're such a personality and you're a massive part of that brand. So maybe
mm,
walk and talk us through a little bit of that reinvention phase and kind of what that was like for you.
It was tough. And as you said, that's the power of other people's expectations, right? And we often have these sorts of conversations with ourselves. Oh, I can't make that change because I'll let someone down. Or there's an expectation that, hey, I'm associated with that brand. So to go through that process, um, again, it's getting to that point of truth. And for me, that takes time. That is a process. And I know when I've got to the truth, because I'm no longer triggered by it all. And it's just, yeah, there's calmness in it. And
Mm.
so I had done, when it came to She Business, I felt I'd done everything that I could do there. And I was stagnating.
Mm.
And I, so the only thing that was keeping me there was some expectation that I should be there,
Yeah.
and that people were relying on me. And so when I was able to separate out other people's expectations and any guilt and all those feelings that we have around something, and get really clear about the choice that I wanted to make, it was super clear. I wanted to choose to do different things. And
Mm.
so going through that process is, you had lots of tough times through it. It's any big decision in life that impacts other people is complex,
Mm.
right? And so it for me, unless you know your absolute truth, it's too easy to let it all go, because you'll get blown off track by other people's concerns and other people's worries and other people's opinions. And think about how often this happens when we go to make a decision or a choice in life. And we go and ring up all our friends. What do you think I should do? Oh, what do you think? I'm thinking of doing this. What do you reckon? And if you think about it, Mel, we're just creating, in some ways, a whole lot more confusion, because then we've got other people's opinions to deal with as well. And they've got their own vested interest in what they think you should do. And lots of people want you to stay just where you are, because that makes them feel comfortable.
Oh, I can so relate to that. Yeah, I love what you're saying. And I just jotted that down, the personal truth, your personal truth, and not having to be validated by ringing people and finding out, well, what do you think? What do you think? And wouldn't we need less mentors in life too if you became your own mentor?
Yeah, so we talk about being your own inner expert. It was something, in fact, that I talked about on the change room. I think that the byline for that was, trust your inner expert. And it's, again, the same thing. But Mel, this is not something we were taught at school. And this is what again, comes back to what we're delivering at Activator, is we were delivered and taught formulas, for mathematical equations. I don't know, the formula for velocity or whatever. We were taught how to construct sentences and language in order to be understood. No one gave us any education about processing our emotional or how we create and construct our emotional internal world. And so we are so far from knowing what we choose, because when you think about it, we have majority of time is unconsciously going through life, and we've just taken the lessons from our parents and our friends and our colleagues and society, and lived into that like it's, oh, well, this is the way it is. It's not the way it is. It's just the way it has been. And so for us to discover our truth takes work. And it's almost like I talk about an archaeological dig. It's like just sifting through the stuff to get back to who you are. And we overestimate what we can get done in a month and underestimate what we can get done in a year. And this is work which is, I say this is a way of life, it's not somewhere to get to. So if you're out there and listening and thinking, I have no idea what my truth is, that's a great place to start. Well done you, because you're at least acknowledging that you don't know what your truth is. And that's bingo.
It's the start.
There.
Oh, that's a great way to lead into what I want to ask next, because I'm thinking, I'm listening, I'm loving what you're saying, but I'm thinking in the back of my head, there'll be some listeners listening to this just going, what? Because if you haven't questioned the status quo, you haven't questioned what we've always been taught, what we're led to believe, what our friends are doing, and you're busy. And let's face it, a lot of people are numbing with food and alcohol. And now, in this isolation period we're in right now, is an incredibly valuable time to have some of these tricky conversations with ourselves. You've given us the clue about the morning pages, which I love. I journal, but I'm going to flip it over and actually do some morning pages. I think I'll love the sound of that. What are some other steps that people can take so they've had this aha moment, like, I'm not happy.
Yep.
Shit, I'm going to say the words out loud. I'm not happy. What next?
So I would say come and visit us at Activator Academy. It's it's a plug, but it's actually, that's the first place. If I can give you a structure to explore from that point on, the first thing I would say to you is, we talk about 5 different sort of frameworks. The one is choice. So we have a choice, but we have a language which is around, oh, but I don't have a choice. I've got no choice. And actually, we always have a choice. We always have a choice about how we see life, right? So the first choice is, the first sort of framework we go to is telling ourselves the truth that we have choice. Now, if you're sitting there and you're unhappy, and whether it's unhappy in your career, your business, your relationship, telling the truth to yourself that you're not happy and the implication of what that could mean for the people around you usually freaks people out, right? And so they go, oh, I don't want to think about that, to your point. I'll drink, I'll eat, I'll watch Netflix, I'll do anything other than have to think about that.
Yeah.
And that's a choice. Yeah. And so I'm not going to say, self-help industry, great, go read a book, listen, discover the theory, but reading and understanding is not experiencing. And the only way you can experience change is to get on the court and try it. And it's scary, it's uncomfortable. It is, I'd be lying if I just say it's easy. It's not. So but you know what? We arrive and we depart. That is absolutely 100% for every human being on this earth. What we do between those 2 points is up to us. And, we talk about choice. We talk about the be, do, have model. And I laugh about this because I go, instant gratification. I can give it to you right now. You can choose who you be in this second.
Yeah.
If I want to be excited, or if I want to be motivational, if I want to be dynamic, if I want to be sad, if I want to sit with sadness, I can create that. I don't
Yeah.
need to walk out and buy anything. I don't need to do anything. I don't need to have anything. I don't need anyone around me. So getting that actually we've got that model the wrong way round. So we teach the be, do, have model. We talk about the filters. So that's the stories, the filters and the processing that we just need to reshape for ourselves so that it makes more sense. So we just take people through frameworks that take the mess which is in our head and bring real clarity and process to it. And now I've gone on for so long.
That's all right. I've got another question. That's cool. But I love what you say about choice. I just want to reiterate that a quick story of mine, and I'll ask you to tell us a story because I love the story so people can get more of an association with
Tangible. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, like, I'm not sure if you remember, everyone goes through grief at some point. So 3 years ago, my husband died. And I remember having a conversation very unexpectedly. And I had a conversation a few months later with somebody, a couple of months later with somebody. And every day, like, it was toughest thing I've ever done. Makes this look like a piece of cake doing isolation, for COVID. It's no big deal at all. But I got up every day and chose to feel grateful. And then I took that feeling and I chose to be happy about things in my life, that I could be happy about, the things that I could control. And what was amazing, I had a conversation with somebody really close to me, and they made this grand statement, well, nobody's happy anyway. We were having a bit of a disagreement on something. I was like, what are you talking about? Nobody's happy. And she said, no one's happy. Nobody I know is happy. And she was an older lady. I was like, wow, well, look at what's happened in my life, and I'm happy. And she said, how can you be happy? And I said, well, I choose to be happy.
Yeah.
Where I am. So
that makes people uncomfortable, right?
Oh yeah, it was a weird, awkward silence. I'm pretty sure she hung up.
Because you're supposed to be a grieving widow.
Oh my God, yeah.
And this is, again, this conflict between other people's expectations. And go you, Mel. I mean, that is, what a choice to make for yourself. What a choice to make for your children, the people.
My children. That was my thing. Yeah.
I get goosebumps listening to that. And that's a choice. And I guaranteed it wasn't an easy choice.
Hell no.
Right? Yeah. It took work for you to wake up in the morning and choose it.
Yeah.
And choose it again. And I think it's a great example, because let me ask you this. When you chose it, let's say you chose it on the 1st of January.
Yeah.
Did you then, was that the only time you had to choose being happy?
No.
So how often did you have to make the choice?
Some days, every hour, every half hour. Yeah, it was so conscious. And yeah, I know where you're going with it. Yeah, yeah. It was, some days it wasn't as hard. Other days, every bloody minute.
Yeah.
And it's not fake. It's not fake it till you make it. I want to make that clear distinction. I don't even understand the psychology behind it. But we were talking about habits before. Choosing to be happy just became the habit. It was just an expectation in my mind, and I would write little things, little reminders, and put them on my monitor, on my mirror, just to remind me, about choosing to be happy. Just, and it is a choice. And then I would always do the practice of gratitude. Like, what am I grateful for? And
the question is, so why did you choose that?
Why did I choose happiness?
Yeah,
for my kids. Well, sanity. I didn't want to live any other way.
Yeah.
I was 45. It was just too young to hang it all up. And I just felt, you choose grief or you choose happiness. You just.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you could have chosen grief.
Yeah, and I tried that on for a little while. It really sucked.
and so then it's not, again, that, and I love it. It was so intentional, and some days it had to be in every moment.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And the thing that would have sucked you into grief is, it's easy. You were grieving.
It was
right?
expected.
It's expected. It was easier. You could slide into it. Everybody would understand. You could be absolutely justified for doing that. But you've got this life between arriving and departing, and you chose to create yourself as happy.
Yeah.
And what an empowering, extraordinary choice and brave choice.
Yeah, yeah, and it was, I was lucky. It was something I instinctively did. It was, and so I'm really grateful for that, just in myself. But it was having the three boys just sort of standing there looking at me, going, "What now?" And I was like, "Well, just get back on the machine, and we just keep, grinding but loving and being happy and being grateful." And I just wanted to be that for them. But
And
another,
it doesn't make it perfect, does it? And it's not that you felt happy every single moment of every day. There, you also allowed yourself to feel the sadness.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So what about you? Where's an example I've shared? Let's Susie share.
I choose choices that you can only choose in the moment. You see, your choice is only valid in the second that you make it.
Yep.
And then it's something that you got to continue choosing. So I had a financial services. So after I sold She Business, I then started up a financial services business. And I had this great idea. I was going to break down barriers around and by deciphering the convoluted language of the financial services industry to make it more accessible and more available to people.
Yeah.
Um, and it was super successful. And there's a lot of money to be made in financial services sector. And I chose to walk away from it because it just wasn't me.
I know. I was just going to, ew, you're in financial services? That's not you.
And so the choice to walk away from money and that particularly, so going back into startup and now, today I was thinking, God, was that such a wise move? Because the choice comes with a whole bunch of other stuff, right? And this is the thing we don't, about choice. We don't always see the stuff that it comes with. But so I chose to walk away. I chose to walk away from that and go back to the thing which, when it's my time to depart, I know that I will have created something which is the greatest expression of who I am and what I believe, and you would call it personal brand, but just who I am and expressing that in the world. And that's a choice I make every day. And the choice to show up and sit at my desk, the choice to have all this noise around me and just go, yeah, but what I'm doing is this, and stay on my track. These are just day-to-day choices that add up. See, that's the thing. If you continue to make the choices moment after moment, day after day after day, what you start building is a whole bunch of evidence for those choices. So 3 years later, your choice to be happy, I'm sure you could look back and go, what if I'd chosen something else?
Oh, I'd be a different human being.
Yeah.
Having a different experience, different relationship with everyone around me, different business, different everything. God.
You wouldn't have a podcast around connection, hey?
Oh,
Because
no. I've discovered my connection to connection through this whole experience, and that to me, so what I'm hearing you say about what you're doing, that's your legacy, and to me connection is my legacy, and that's, I want to do so much more around that and bring so much more to people, because I have a belief that people are disconnected from themselves first and foremost. So how can we, and that's just being evident now in these times of isolation. So I already know the answer to this, like with your methodology, that's how you feel connected to what you do. Do you want to talk about connection a little bit? A bit of a general question, I know, but just probably how you've used connection, I guess, in the past in aspects of your business or aspects of your career or your growth.
yeah, it's a good. I'm sitting here listening to you. Before I get on a phone call, I probably go through a bit of a process, or before I go on stage, or before I'm on a podcast. There is something incredible about connecting with people in a real way. And so, yes, I go through my own process. So I first choose who I want to be in that conversation. So whether it's and being funny or being inspirational or engaging or whatever it is, it's choosing a state of being and how I choose to show up. I think at the heart of it is education for me. So even when I go into a sales conversation or anything to do with business, it's at the heart of it is coming from a place of education and learning, and keeping that channel open for both parties.
Yeah.
And so, and to me, that then you're taking away the ego, you're not forcing anything. And you can see I don't know, there's that experience of somebody getting who you are because you're getting who they are. And that is that not the greatest desire for human beings, is to be heard and understood and seen. And
Absolutely.
so, when I'm on stage, I love nothing better than getting off the stage and going down and getting up close and personal with people, because if they weren't in the room, my job doesn't exist. If
Yeah.
your listeners aren't there, and if we're not looking to engage with them through a conversation, we don't exist in this forum. So it's getting really centered to how you can help. Who is that person out there? What's going on for them? And by keeping that level of curiosity, and you can see stuff about people, and that is a joy, really.
Yeah. Gift to I love that. That's so beautiful. Just about, and so I love that you sort of spoke a little bit about your speaking and your emceeing and stuff. So
Well,
typically,
that's why I like emceeing so much, because then I get to hang out for the entire day. I'm not just delivering a keynote, right? I get to actually create a conversation with people in the room. Except the other day I did it virtually. So I was going to MC for the Australian Institute of Training and Development, and it was supposed to be down at Luna Park, and 350 people in the room, of which, we've been there for Fearless, and, people flying in from all over the world. And the first thing that happened was that I had been with Tom Hanks the day before he was told,
my God,
I know, told the world that he had coronavirus, right? And so
I'll pull up. What on earth were you doing with Tom Hanks anyway?
I know, well, nothing too up close and personal, but I was chatting to him, right?
Cool.
And I was down at the Opera House, and then my daughter sends me, the first thing I hear about coronavirus is my daughter sends me a snap of Instagram, a screenshot of Instagram. These announced he's got coronavirus. I didn't think much of it. But I had shared this story with the organisers for Australian Institute of Training and Development. So the next thing I know, I get a phone call from them.
Oh, yeah.
And they say, and I think, they're going to cancel the event. Nope, they were cancelling me because I'd been in contact with Tom Hanks. But then it turned out within 24 hours, they went, no, we need you back on board. We're doing this virtually. And we pivoted that event in 72 hours to become a virtual event. And I emceed from my lounge room a 2-day global event.
Oh my God.
emceeing. It was extraordinary. And here's the thing, Mel, all the feedback that came in from that event, yes, the content was great, but what people loved was the connection and the engagement and feeling as though they were part of it because of the way we emceed it and threaded the stories and kept them engaged.
I just think people, they can sense it. I sense it in you too. You're so connected to your purpose and your vision, but you're connected to I imagine you're like this with your clients too. You're emotionally connected, intellectually connected, really giving yourself to them. And I think that's the big point of difference for people watching this too. If they're struggling in their business, they're not sure how to get new clients or how to do their social media marketing or anything. How connected are you anyway to what you're actually talking about and to the humans that you're talking to? So I just think, I feel that and sense that from you, and I'm not surprised at all you got that raving reviews.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's a joy. It's something I absolutely love doing, and the doing it virtually just provides a whole lot of other opportunities to be creative and innovative around the way we do it.
Yeah.
Well, we have to.
I'm going to get you to share a little bit more before I let you go. We've been friends for ages. I watch you on Facebook. You do some crazy ass shit these days. I've seen you bungee jump. I've seen you get lost in Central Australia.
Oh my God, yes, I did. Yep.
I know. Who does that? Thank God you're alive. Can you share with me, just quickly, first thing comes to your head, craziest thing that's ever happened to you?
Jumping into Antarctica.
Oh,
The
God.
freezing
Yeah, describe that quickly.
freezing waters. So I'd come back from this 10-day walk up on the west coast of Western Australia. It had been extraordinary. No showers. We'd done this, walked with the Indigenous community up there. It had been absolutely amazing. Came back to Sydney and my client said to me, well, I'm going off to Antarctica. And I said, well, why the fuck aren't you taking me? And she said, yes, I can. And she's a luxury travel agent. So I got to go to Antarctica on this expedition where I kayaked up to ice shelves and trekked across the Andes down in just before we went to Antarctica. And then one day there was an opportunity for us to jump into the Antarctic Ocean. Yeah. And there I was in a bikini and I'm like, I'm going to do this. And you just take a running jump and you just bomb in there. And it just, my God, they get you to sign a waiver because it's obviously not very good for you to do that.
Yeah.
But amazing experience being in Antarctica, the silence, the beauty, it was extraordinary. And then to do something like that was freaking fun, but a little bit crazy as well.
Wow. Okay. Massive FOMO. What is the most fulfilling thing you've ever done?
Parenting my children using my process. Because I have a 22-year-old and a 20-year-old now, and I see what they get up to in the world, and it just blows my mind.
Yeah.
And I basically coach them rather than parented them in a traditional way. And I look at it, and it was against the grain. And I had lots of people watching, parents and extended family and so forth, and questioning what I was doing. And I look at both those human beings now, and freaking awesome. Just so definitely that.
Oh, awesome! I love that. Yeah, really owning parenting rather than just like going through the motions and doing what's expected. I love that. Don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but saddest day.
And I don't want this to come across as trite, but I would say it's those years where I didn't know my truth.
That's not trite, Suzy. That's not trite.
Yeah. I only started going on my own journey in my early 30s, and there were a lot of years before then that were sad because I was stuck in this pattern of thinking and believing and this world that I couldn't find an exit out of. And to live unfulfilled in that way, I think back now, and yeah, that was sad. There were lots of sad days there.
Yeah, thanks for your honesty. I think a lot of people can relate to that. Who's the coolest person you've ever met and hung out with?
Oh my God. Coolest person I've ever hung out with. I actually don't know the answer to that. So running through my head was my daughter, my partner. I've met some cool people along the way. But I would, no, I don't have a better answer than that. Sorry.
No, that's totally cool. I can't think of anybody either. Do you have a mentor?
Not anymore. I just use my own process. And because I'm in the conversations and I'm working the process and developing programs, I'm always doing it. I do like, I like learning stuff that is evidence-based and science-based and logic-based. So if I'm looking for inspiration, I would go to something like The Science of Success, which is a podcast I love. So it's not really for motivation or discipline. I'm listening for another something else, and not necessarily know what it is, but it might just be a way that somebody's thinking about something, which I then gives me a new way of talking about something that I'm doing or evidence for what it is I'm doing.
Love it. Love it. Thank you. And last one, just the simple pleasures. What gives you the most joy out of just something really simple?
Oh, I love to walk. I love the sound of gravel under my feet. I love, yeah, probably the simplest thing is probably walking. Um,
Yeah.
we live in a beautiful country and have extraordinary access to the outdoors, and that just fills my soul.
Yes,
Mm.
gorgeous. Thank you so much, Suzy. Can you tell us how we can get in touch with you, please? Quickly, just drop all your handles and your websites.
Very easy. The easiest way is Suzy Jacobs, SUZY Jacobs, JACOBS.com.
Yeah.
And you'll find the same one on Twitter, on Facebook, on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Are you
Pretty
on Insta?
Insta, same thing, Suzy Jacobs.
She's there. She's
I'm
everywhere.
I'm there. And then from there, if you want to find out about Activator Academy and the program that we're doing, it's an online 5-week program, 5 consecutive weeks, small group, very personal,
Yeah.
human connection, coaching online, and we run them sort of once a month. It's with me doing the coaching, but there's a whole syllabus. So there's pre and post work. You want to bring a current dilemma or challenge or problem that you'd like to find your own answer to, and use this process to get on the court and work it through.
Yeah.
So if that's of interest, still suzyjacobs.com, and you'll find Activator Academy there, and we'll take you from there.
God, thank you so much. It's been just the loveliest interview. I always love talking to you anyway, but thank you so much for all your sharing and your honesty and your wisdom. It's been wonderful to have you here. So please get in touch with Suzy. If you want to talk to her, definitely go check out all of her websites and her social media accounts. And thank you for tuning in to Connected. Thank you, Suzy.
Thanks, Mel. Thank
Beautiful.
you.
See you
Bye.
soon. Beautiful. Thank you.
Go you.
That was awesome.